We're brought here today by the love that Sarah and Davis have for each other.
I can't believe I get to marry him. We're perfectly compatible in every way.
Yeah, she just gets me, man.
Someone to talk to all night long.
Someone to talk to all night long.
Early morning jogs.
Sleeping in late.
We'll spend the holidays with my parents.
We'll spend the holidays with my parents.
We'll have one well-behaved daughter.
We'll have 4 or 5 little dudes running around.
He'll help me pay off my debt.
I should probably tell her about all my debt. Is that important? We'll share a bank account.
Obviously, we're gonna share a Facebook account.
Do I need to friend my in-laws?
Someone to do my laundry.
Someone to do my laundry.
Double income.
Stay-at-home dad.
Meal planning, of course.
Takeout.
The city.
The burbs.
Mission trip.
Ski trip.
Blue.
Red.
Cat.
Dog.
Fries.
Rings.
Potato.
Potato.
Minivan.
Motorcycle.
2 words. Finished basement.
2 words. Man cave.
He's so smart.
Do you think that birds wish that they had hands?
We're going to be so happy.
We'll be so happy. I'm gonna crush it at being a husband.
All right. So how about that intro? That was a good one, right? I liked it. So as if I talked to you before the service about playing a game, if you could go ahead and start making your way up. I got some guys from my marriage group coming up, and we're going to do a little fun thing that you've probably seen before at maybe a wedding or something like that, when they like trade shoes and I ask some questions, they hold the shoes up. Well, I spent a long time with Miss Jamie Bright making these really technically advanced signs here. I am not creative by any means, so this is the best I could come up with. So we got some signs, if you could pass those out.
Sure.
Blues for all the guys except Austin. Sorry, it just slipped out. Can't help it. All right, so welcome to the relationship series, guys. We're going to be talking about marriage. We're going to be talking about love. We're going to be talking about all the way that culture is trying to redefine marriage, all of these things. So we're going to start off by asking a few questions here to our lovely, lovely guests here. So our first question, all right, if this is you, I want you to hold up either a blue or pink sign, obviously. I messed this up, didn't I? I need more than this, don't I? Yep, everybody is supposed to have the same color. I messed it up. Look at there. Failed already. We're going to move forward anyway, all right? So, in your marriage, who controls the remote? Huh? Who gets that Netflix pick at night?
It's a 50-50 with us.
It's a 50-50? That sounds like a disagreement to me. All right, we're getting personal. Y'all are in my marriage group, and if y'all heard some of the conversations we talk about, this is pretty much par for the course. All right, who has the most flatulence? Hey, I'm not going to say who, but someone's lying. I'm just going to let you know someone's lying. All right, who is the better kisser? There's no hand raised. All right, who is smarter? That's funny. They work together and in the same place, so that's all right. Who is the first to apologize? Who is the crier during the movies? All right, you just bought a brand new gas grill. Who's the one that puts it together? Who's the best singer? All right. Who's got the best? This one I think is not on there. Who's got the best dance moves? So, who hits the snooze button before church on Sunday mornings? No? All right. Let's give our guests a round of applause.
Thanks, Aaron.
Y'all can take these signs with you. Yeah. They're my gift to you. I worked very, very hard on these. You guys just take them with you. Y'all's signs were better. So he told me at marriage group that he was going to make up those giant head signs, and I completely thought he was kidding. I was like, that'd be so funny, yeah. I did not realize he was actually, you got to put that thing down. I can't preach up there with that thing. It's just my eyes staring over the seat from my angle that I see looking at me. Y'all are crazy. So, using this game as an example, it is obvious that sometimes we're not on the same page all the time. Yeah, there it is. Sometimes we're not on the same page. Sometimes we can't agree who is smarter or who's got better dance moves or maybe who worries more in the relationship. Sometimes we have a hard time figuring out what that looks like. Or maybe we see all of the social media posts and we start comparing ourselves to these picture-perfect images that get put up on Instagram or on Facebook. You know, you got the perfect date night pictures that get posted, or the family pictures that, you know, just show everybody, including the baby, all looking straight at the camera and smiling, but nobody ever gets to see what it took to get that picture, right? Or maybe it's, you know, they're posting the 2-year-old toddler state championship t-ball team, and you're like, how is that even a thing, right? Like, my 2-year-old bites the dog, if you were here for my last sermon. So how in the world does that make sense, right? Or maybe it's you're looking at TVs and movies, and you start seeing this picture that they're painting of like shows like The Simpsons or Jetsons for the older generation, or Family Guy, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's Tim the Toolman Taylor from Tool Time or something like that, and you see this picture being painted of the dumb dad who kind of just acts like one of the kids, makes the bad financial decisions, just, you know, goes with whatever his gut reaction is right there in the moment, kind of immature. And then you've got the working mom who's just doing everything she can, the cooking, the cleaning, the working, doing everything she can just to hold everything together. And I don't think this is a realistic image of what marriage should be or what it actually is at all. Or maybe you're someone who's been paying attention to what the culture is trying to redefine what marriage is. They're trying to redefine the roles in a relationship, whether that looks like, you know, stay-at-home mom, working mom, whatever that is. I mean, half the time our culture can't even agree with what genders belong in a marriage to begin with, right? So, or maybe you were somebody who, I'm sure this is probably everybody. Raise your hand if you like Disney movies. Yeah? I'm sure everybody probably grew up with this idea of being in a Disney movie where everyone in here probably was a princess at one time, right? Everybody was. Well, everybody can't be a princess, okay? You were not a princess? I'm good to hear that. It's good to hear that. So it's maybe it's just about trying to find the right one, and, you know, once you get married, all the conflict ends. The movie ends as soon as the, you know, Prince Charming and Cinderella, once they get married, it's like, that's it, all my problems are solved, and the movie ends. All the conflict stops after that, right? Married people, that's when it all stops. You just get married, and life's golden after that, am I right? So the picture I'm trying to paint for you this morning is that our marriage, our institute of marriage that is under God, is under attack. And it's under attack from all kind of different angles. The devil is using all kind of different angles to disrupt this thing that is honored under God, that is a covenant under God, in order to move forward in our relationships, right? So, has anyone ever heard of a silent dance or a silent disco? No? So let me kind of explain it to you real quick. It's a lot of times it's used in like special education, or they'll put it on for a school event or something like that, to cater to certain people and with like hearing issues or whatever that may be. Brandy could probably help you out explaining that a little bit better than I can. But the premise is you come in and you're given headphones. And on these headphones, you can select like 3 or 4 different channels, and you can listen to whatever kind of music you want. But if you don't have the headphones on, I'm imagining, I've never personally been to one, but I can imagine you're standing there on the sidelines and there's no music playing. There's just this giant group of people all dancing to different music, to different songs, and nobody is doing anything that is like the same. And then all of a sudden, you decide you're going to put your headphones on. And you might be listening to rock and roll, ballads, country, hip hop, whatever it might be. And you're listening to your own song, and you've probably got your own dance moves. There's probably dance moves that I could do that you would probably be able to guess what song I was listening to just by the dance moves. I'm not going to do them this morning. You got moves? You got some moves? You do it twice over this shoulder, twice over that. That's your dance moves? Yeah? Or how about this? Can you guess this one without me saying anything? Snap your fingers. Do it. No? Anybody? It's 90s kids? God, never mind. I'm done with that. So all of a sudden, you're going to put these headphones on, right? And you're over there, dancing to Hammer Time or whatever it might be. And then, but there's nobody else. There's someone that comes around you slow dancing. You're like, we are not listening to the same song, my man. We are definitely not listening to the same song. But all of a sudden, you might catch someone else in the crowd that they're on the same channel as you. They're doing the same dance moves that you are. And that there's a connection there. And all of a sudden, you might be across the room from somebody, but you're going to catch that same rhythm that other person is moving in, right? A huge problem with our relationships today is that we are trying to dance with people who are not listening to the same song. And we wonder why we're not in the same rhythm. It's because we got different headphones on. We're listening to different things. You might be like, well, what if I don't like the kind of music my husband likes? Or what if I don't like the kind of song that my wife likes? Well, we're not talking about music, are we? We're not. We're talking about dancing to the rhythm of the Word of God. Okay, we're talking about love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, right? Where a lot of us, we find ourselves, we're focusing, we're magnifying, if you've been here for the last sermon series, we're magnifying things like negativity and doubt and bitterness. Maybe it's resentment that we're magnifying, and this is now the spirit, this is now the sound, this is now the rhythm that our steps are following. And now in our relationships, whether that be boyfriend, girlfriend, friendships, work relationships, or your marriage, which we're talking about today and throughout the next 4 weeks, all of a sudden we start stepping on each other's toes. We're moving different directions, we're moving to different goals, and we don't know exactly what we're doing. See, you attract people that are flowing in the same sound as you. So today, we're going to talk about how to get back in the right rhythm of relationships with our spouse. And that starts by listening to the same song. Sorry. Brandy and I use this term a lot in our marriage, where one of us, we'll have a week, kind of like we had this week, where it's been a little chaotic. We had to talk about some stuff last night, right? Where we felt like we weren't exactly on the same page, where she felt like maybe I wasn't making her a priority, and we kind of got off, we were off step, we were off tempo from one another, and we had to get back on the same page. But once we get back on the same page and the fruits of the Spirit are flowing in your life and in your partner's life, you begin to thrive in your marriage. And sometimes it seems like when we're on that misstep, when we're not on the same page, when we're dancing to different songs, all we're doing is just surviving. And so we're going to try and locate some steps to take to make sure we get back on the same page, okay? So me and my sister's here this morning. Thank you for coming. Now I get to pick on you. She came this morning. We have a really cool relationship. I love my sister. She loves me. But when it comes to hard advice, when it comes to hard truths, I typically be the one that she calls when she needs somebody to kick her and get her back into shape. So a conversation we had, a year and a half ago, something like that. I asked for her permission to be able to use this story. She calls me, and she's like, man, I have these friendships and my relationships. I just keep attracting these terrible guys. Sorry, Tyler. She brought her boyfriend this morning to make things even worse, right? She's calling me. She's like, I'm having this hard time in all of these relationships. I have all of these relationship problems. I said, Momo, there's one common denominator in all of your problems, and it's you. You are the common denominator in all of your relationships. So everybody, I want you to take a second. I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, I'm the problem. All right, we're going to have to try that again, guys. We're going to have to try that again. Listen, some of y'all just stared straight forward like, I'm not looking to my left. I'm not looking to my right. I saw one couple, I'm not going to point it out, we'll talk about it Wednesday at marriage group. You turned around and said, "You're the problem." So we're going to try that again. Turn to somebody else, somebody different, and say, "I'm the problem." That's right. So today we're going to be working on the health of self, because the healthier you become, the healthier your relationship will become, okay? So we're going to look right here at Mark 12, 30 and 31. It says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." So right here, this is kind of a loaded statement, isn't it? Because it says we're supposed to love others, right, as ourselves. Well, this has something that's implied that's not necessarily written. In order to love others, we first have to love ourselves. We have to be able to love ourselves before we can reach out and love others. Before we can love our spouse and show our spouse and walk in the fruits of the Spirit, we have to be able to love ourselves. So today, we're going to be focusing on some myths, okay? And the title of this sermon is called MythBusters. So I was obsessed with MythBusters as a kid. I guarantee you watched it almost every episode. Even in my job, like I don't want anything to do with being a hazmat technician. That doesn't sound fun. Dangerous chemicals, unknown substance. It doesn't sound fun. But I've considered going and getting that certification just because Adam Savage, the guy from MythBusters, actually teaches a explosives hazmat class out in New Mexico, and I've thought about taking this 80-hour certification just so I can fly out to New Mexico and take that class with him, because I think that'd be really fun. I'm obsessed with MythBusters. It was good. So I'm really excited to be able to call this sermon MythBusters, but instead of doing, your regular science myths, this morning we're going to be busting some myths of marriage. And now this can be helpful to you whether you are married, or maybe you're single, or maybe you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. This is going to be helpful to you no matter which way you look at it. So we're going to talk about this first myth, okay? Let's put this first myth. This is the right person myth, the happily ever after, right? We just talked about Disney, and Disney's been selling this to us time and time and time again. Man, if I could just find the right person, they would complete me. And all of my anxieties and my fears, they just make them all go away. My problems, they'll just save me. They'll just save me. Here's a secret. Everyone at some point has dated thinking that if they could just find the right person, that person could just fix them. It could just fix the hole in their heart, and they would be made whole. If they could just find the right one, they could find soulmate, Mr. or Mrs. Right. All of these things, that right person could fix them. You see, when we get married, whether we want to admit it or not, we have this little box. And in that box, we put our hopes, our dreams, our expectations, everything down to the type of house we want to live in, to the color of it, to the city we want to live in, to how many kids we're going to have and where they're going to go to school. We put this in this box. And whether we say it or not, we give it to that other person and go, "Give me all this." And then all of a sudden, when that doesn't happen, we're let down. And then we start questioning, well, did I marry the wrong person? Is this not my soulmate? They're supposed to do all of these things that are in this box. So instead of finding the right person, we have to switch our mind. We have to switch our focus. And instead of finding the right person, we've got to start working on becoming the right person. Okay? We have to become the right person before we even start looking, before we're single and searching, or whatever it is, So we're going to move on. The second myth, the completion myth. This kind of goes hand in hand with the right person myth, the completion myth. The thing about a myth is a lot of times it gets wrapped up with a little bit of truth, and that's what makes it believable. So, well, there is some truth in this, that I'm not saying that you can't have a marriage where the other person God can use that other person to speak some truth and love and some wisdom and some knowledge into your life. I'm not saying that God won't use that person to start shaping you and maybe pulling some stuff out of you that doesn't need to be there. God is going to use that person. You are going to grow together. But what I'm saying is that if you put all of your dreams, your hopes, that if your whole attitude and your demeanor and emotional stability and all of these things are putting on a fallible person, fallible meaning capable of making mistakes, which we all are, right? Nobody in here is perfect. So if we're putting all of our emotional stability, all of our attitude, our whole demeanor is based on this other person, when they let us down, or when they don't meet our expectations, whether they're spoken expectations or unspoken expectations, when we put all of our faith in that person, we're just setting ourselves up for failure. Psalm 73:26 says that my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And then 1 John 4:12, I want to sit here for just a second. It's going to be up here on the screen. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and His love, not the love of your spouse, not the love of a boyfriend and girlfriend, not the love of your dog, is made complete in us. It's only God's love that will complete us. So we have to stop trying to focus and put all of our wholeness on our spouse, but we have to allow God's love to transform us from the inside, and that's what's going to fill that hole inside of us. And I know for a lot of the men, you might be sitting there and be like, oh, I don't feel like I have a hole, but it's kind of hard to diagnose. And for me in my life, when I look back, and I had to gain some perspective to be able to recognize my seeking for wholeness. And I sought that out in a lot of different ways. I tried to fill it with either women or drugs and alcohol. Maybe it was clubs I was a part of, IAFF, or the motorcycle club that I joined for a short period of time, or maybe it's in sports or hobbies or for certain friend groups, and you're leaning on those friends to be able to fill that hole that you think you need in order to feel whole. To feel wholeness. But ultimately, you've got to come to a revelation of who God is and who you are, and know that God is the only one that's going to be able to fill that hole in us. So even now, I love you, Brandy. I love my wife, but she doesn't complete me. And I know that she loves me, but I don't complete her. Even though sometimes we've fallen into that trap in seasons of our life where we feel like we're leaning on that person or a little too much or whatever that looks like. So let's talk about the next myth real quick. This one's going to be the fixer-upper myth, okay? My single problems and temptations will go away once I get married. And all the married people laughed. Am I right? Because we know that's not true. Because the truth is, marriage comes with strings attached. Whether we like it or not, we're going to be carrying those strings into our marriage. A lot of people, when they come to marriage counseling, when they come and sit in either a group like mine and marriage group, or maybe they sit with a pastor or sit with a counselor, they come to marriage counseling, a lot of times they don't actually have marriage problems. They don't. They're individuals with problems who got married. The problems that most of the time they have are ones that are strings that are attached to their past, that it pulled into a marriage. And now it seems like it's a marriage problem because now my spouse or whoever it is, they're clashing with whatever this idea I had, or maybe it's, there was some selfishness in us or whatever it might look like that was a string attached to your past. Strings can be good things too. They can be good or bad. There's certain things like, I grew up in a home where my parents, they're here this morning. I'm going to talk a lot about y'all. I'm sorry. About my family in general. They've been married my entire life. I grew up, my dad was the worship leader for like 9 years, 10 years at the church I grew up in. I don't really remember a time of my life personally where I was outside of church. I was raised in a great environment. That didn't keep me from trying to go and do my own thing for a little while by any means. But that foundation was something that was a good string that I held on to, that I carried into my marriage. And what's ultimately is leading me to be standing here in front of you today. But, when there's other things that your parents taught you. There's other strings. Now, like I said, these can be good things. They can be bad. But there's 4 things. We're going to put them up on the screen real quick. These are things that your parents taught you. Discipline. These are your values, your work ethic, financial habits, your financial decisions, things like that. Maybe it's self-care. Things like sleep, your hobbies, your health, or maybe joy, your outlook, sense of humor, connection to nature, emotional regulation. This is your self-image or your temper, or maybe how you deal with your emotions. A lot of time, all of these things, psychology tells us, are things that our parents taught us that we carry. And now, I know you might be sitting there and you might be looking at this list and be like, my parents didn't teach me any of that. Exactly. That's what they taught you. Either way, whether they're good or bad, these are things that your parents taught you. And we're going to talk about some good strings that my parents gave me. The first one is kind of under the discipline, is self-discipline. It was my work ethic and family values and traditions. You know, our family was steeped in traditions, and there's some traditions that we've kept and brought into our own marriage as well, which, you know, that probably doesn't cause any issues for anybody. You know, my family traditions are way better than your family traditions, so we're going to do my family traditions instead, right? I'm sure that hasn't been an issue in anyone's family. But that's something that, you know, on Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, we do pajamas and pancakes. That's what we do. And that's a family tradition. That was a good string, right? Or in our family, selflessness was something that I learned a lot. You know, it was never about just one person. It was always, if there was somebody that was having an issue, we all rallied around that one person to help fix whatever problem was. When it came to doing the outside work or whatever, cleaning up the house or whatever it was growing up, it was a team effort, and it was never about just one person and one person's needs. It was about everyone together as a whole. Excuse me. So another thing that my family taught me was joy. And I would challenge you guys to come to any family dinner at my house, and I guarantee you will walk out laughing at something. At some point, somebody's going to be dying with tears in their eyes, laughing at something, whether that be my little brother, because he's a clown, and looks like a girl with his long hair he needs to cut. But anyway, so this is a complete side note. It's funny that I say that because when I was his age, I had hair like down past my shoulders. It was just ringlet curls. Anyway, you need to cut your hair. So how about some bad strings that my parents taught me? Okay, this is the part that y'all might want to walk up for. I'm just kidding. So self-care. Okay, listen. I was born and raised in Effingham County. Okay, when we go to a buffet, and you go to start making healthy choices, and you go to the salad bar, guess what's on the salad bar? Banana pudding. Okay, in the South, banana pudding is on the salad bar. Also, when you go to a family gathering, you got to go scout out the dessert table before you fix your entrees. If that dessert table's looking a little weak, if somebody brought some crap crumble cake or whatever it is, you might load up a little more on your entrees. But if grandma brought in that 7-layer chocolate cake, and each layer is about that thin, she did not spend all day making 7 layers of the cake that was that thin, making each one of those cakes for it just to be okay. That cake is bomb. You better put it on your plate. Okay, so you might have to save some extra room on the entrees in order to get that cake, right? Or how about my dad, for instance? My dad is someone who, if you're planning on dinner at a certain time, you might as well forget it. Because dinner can be anywhere between 4:30 and 9:30 at night. He has no rhyme or rhythm when it comes to that. Oh, speaking about dinner, something's going to be fried. 100% of the time, it's going to be fried. If we're having vegetables, it's fried okra. That's what I'm talking about. If there's not French fries with your steak or whatever it might be, it's going to be fried. Something I got from my mom is, my sleep habits, for one. We're both night owls. I grew up staying up and having really, really great conversation with my mom late at night, but she also gave me her sweet tooth. And I know last sermon, if you were here last time I preached, I talked a lot about ice cream. That's where I got it from. Is that late night bowl of ice cream? You know, I've tried to be better here recently, but, you know, sometimes I was just like, man, I'm thirsty. I think I need to walk in here and get something to drink. And, oh, hello, there's ice cream. Anybody ever had the resistant ice cream that tried to help you in staying strong, but you sitting there and you're just trying to pull out that lid and it's Get over here, I'm going to fill it up. You bend the spoon trying to get it out. It's an issue. For Christmas, I got a spoon that literally says Dad's ice cream shovel. It doesn't bend. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, okay? Late night ice cream. Thanks, Mama, for that health tip in my life. So another string that my parents taught me is under emotional regulation, okay? Now, while obviously we had a lot of joy in our life and we loved each other very much, we didn't really handle pressing things in our life very well. A lot of times we just kind of all bottled it up and dealt with it on our own, but we never just talked about what was actually going on. We never talked about the elephant in the room. It was always, save face, let's just bottle this up and we'll handle it with our own vices some other way. So we all have strings attached. We all have things in our life that we can look back at and point at. But a lot of us might be in toxic environments now that have strings on our life and we don't even realize it because it was normal. You grew up in that marriage, in that situation where, mom and dad just yelled at each other. That was a normal thing, and now you're duplicating that in your life where we just yell at each other, we have fights, and that's just normal to you, and you don't even realize that that's a toxic environment because it's normal. But just because something is normal doesn't mean it's good. It just means it's normal to you. And that's not a good thing at all. So how do we know if we're in a toxic environment? How do we know? We're gonna talk about it right here. So let's pull up the first thing. Reckless words. Proverbs 12:18 said, "The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise bring healing." Okay, so have y'all ever met that person that's just I just say what I think kind of person? Like, I have an opinion and you're going to hear about it whether you want to or not. Anybody know that guy? They're like, I'm just real. Yeah, you real mean. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And you, sir, have a mean heart. So if you find yourself constantly putting people down, talking about people, or maybe or cutting people down with slander or talking about them behind their back, maybe this is something that you struggle with is reckless words. If you don't know that person, maybe you are that person. I don't know. I'm just saying. There's an old saying. I want y'all to finish the saying with me. Okay? Sticks and stones might break my bones, but that's a lie, if I ever heard one. Because the truth is, sticks and stones, yeah, they might break your bones. But words will create a wound in you that lasts forever. That's the truth, okay? So, words can leave a wound in you that you can carry for the rest of your life. And you'll carry them into your marriage. You will carry them into your friendships. You will carry them into your workplace. And it can become all that you focus on. That wound that somebody said once in your life, whether that was your mom, your dad, brother, sister, friend, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, whatever that looks like for you, there's words that we carry throughout our life. There's things that we're told that we carry throughout our life. Another thing that can be a sign of a toxic environment is negative attitudes. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but if this is you, if you struggle, if you are a product of your environment and you have maybe it is wounds that are causing this negative attitude, and it's something that you're just magnifying in your mind. It can be a product of a toxic environment, and you should go back 3 weeks. Go on Facebook, City Church Pooler, or maybe it's on YouTube, on our YouTube page, and Pastor Daniel just completed an amazing series on the magnifying mind, and it's going to dive into this way deeper than I have time for this morning and way better than I could. Anyway, I'm talking about negative attitudes and wounds. So the next thing that we're going to talk about, another sign that we're in a toxic environment, is an unbalanced life. So this is the emotional roller coaster, the high highs and the low lows, that we're on this life as a roller coaster, and we're on the first car. We're the one that's going up, and we're driving us down and hitting the gap, and then we're going back up and down, loop-de-loop sometimes, whatever that looks like in your life. This is it. And maybe it's because you were raised in this. Maybe when you were a kid, you were coming home and you never knew what you were coming home to. Maybe you were coming home and you didn't know whether mom was going to be happy and motivated or if she was going to be sad laying in the bed depressed, not able to be able to tend to the family or whatever that looks like. Or maybe you didn't know if you were going to come home and dad was going to be angry and distant, or if he was going to be encouraging and behind you the whole way, if he was going to be present in your life. Maybe it was a sibling or somebody else in your household that you weren't sure if they were going to beat up on you. Get out of my room. I don't love you. Whatever it is, whatever it looks like, that's going to, or beat up on you, or whatever that looks like, or they're going to be your best friend. Maybe it was something like this, and now it's carried over, and you're on this emotional roller coaster, just like you were when you were a kid, where you came home and you didn't know what was going on. And now you have an unbalanced life. You have these high highs and its low lows, and it can present itself in a lot of different ways. Brandy and I actually struggled with this for a while when we first got married. She's real nervous about this part. Because Brandy is very blue and I'm very red. If you don't know what that means, you should sign up for Next Level. Okay, so we're talking about temperaments. And in Next Level, we start talking, you take this test and it tells you what kind of temperament you are. Well, blues have a tendency to struggle with depression. And when we first got together, that was a huge thing for Brandy that we had to walk through. And it was high highs, low lows. I never knew what I was going to get, and I was like, who is this person? Like, what in the world is going on? We spent summers fighting it where, it was hard to get out of the bed sometimes, right? And, we really struggled through that. Her meds weren't really working. She was on meds, and they just kind of kept her at the same level, which I guess that's what they're supposed to do, but then it steals the joy out of everything because there are no highs. There's no lows, but there's no highs. It's just the same person and emotionless. And that wasn't working for us. It wasn't working for us at all. And, maybe she fell into the completion trap where she's like, well, you're supposed to be the person that keeps me level. You're supposed to be the person that keeps me stable, keeps my head on straight. I could never do that. I was not designed by God to complete someone else. I was made to be completed by God, but I was never fit to try and fulfill that in her life. And then I struggled with it too because my red mind, my red lens that I see, I'm like, just get up, just be better. Like, I don't understand this. I struggled with that, and I was just trying to fix her. I just spent so much time just trying to fix her, and I finally realized, we both realized that I can't fix her, she can't fix me. But once she had the revelation of who God was in her life, and once she had that revelation that God was able to fill her and fill her cup, and she just like overflows with joy now. Now, she still has temptations because temptations are going to happen, right? But she is just overflowing with joy. A lot of us that are in our marriage group or have been around Brandy for a while, that's y'all can witness this in her life, that she is a different person, and it's absolutely beautiful. Oh, I love you, babe. This is Jesus. That's right. Let's talk about the next thing. Wrong choices. Okay? If you make wrong choices constantly, or maybe you're just around people that are constantly making wrong choices, this could be a string that is attached. You're the sum of the top 5 people you spend the most time with, and whether you want to believe it or not, your spouse is one of those people. Your spouse is one of those people. And so that's why groups are important. That's why you should sign up for a group. Come to a marriage group. Have a team of people that are so encouraging in your life, that are so influential in your life, that they'll go and they'll print giant signs of your head and hold them up in church. Go find you those people. You might be sitting there saying, well, Aaron, I can't control every environment. How am I supposed to do this in my work environment? I spend 40, 50, 60 some odd hours of the week around these people who they're not Christians, but I spend more time around them. How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to just completely eliminate my problems, my people that are causing influence in my life? These are the top 5 people I spend the most time with, and none of their lives look like they're following Jesus at all. How do I do that? Well, we have to put on the full armor of God when we go into those situations, right? because God can protect us in those environments. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." And the truth is that your environment will affect you over time. It will affect you over time. So if you're stuck in that situation and you do not have the full armor of God on, it will slowly and surely deteriorate you, and it will corrupt your character. Everything that we spend time in our devotions every day, all the time that we spend on Sunday mornings trying to develop good character to become Christ-like is going to be destroyed by the influences that you have in your life. This is your friend groups. Maybe it's not work. Maybe it's a friend group, or maybe it's a family person in your family that is creating a toxic environment that you can't escape. Well, you have to put on the full armor of God. So let's put that up on the screen real quick. All right, these things in truth, I'm going to pause. I want you to say them out loud with me, okay? Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm with the buckled around your waist with the in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes with the. In addition to all of this, take up the shield of faith, which you can use to extinguish all of the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Okay? If that can just be our prayer when we wake up in the morning. God, give me the breastplate of righteousness and the shield of faith, that I can extinguish all the fiery arrows that are going to come about me in this workplace today. God, as I go in there, Lord, will you give me the helmet of salvation and the sword of truth, which is the word of God, so that I can go in and be encouraging and be a light to these people instead of allowing my environments to influence me and creating a toxic environment. Do not let them become a corrupter of my good character, God. If that could just be our prayer when we walk into those situations every day, we'd have a way better outcome. Okay, Romans 7:15. You can want to make the right decisions all you want. But if you don't put on this full armor of God, your environment will affect you over time. You have strings attached to your past habits or to habits that you have been trying to overcome. And these habits start creating neurological pathways in your head. And now it becomes easier and easier to return to the same habits again and again. And those habits start becoming an addiction in your life. You have an addiction to certain behaviors. And next thing you know, you find yourself going down roads you never were meant to go, doing things you were never meant to do, and hurting people that you never meant to hurt. I've been doing a lot of studying on this neurological pathways for the past couple years, and that's a whole nother sermon I'm not going to get into today. But if that is you, it's going to stem from a toxic environment that you were in. It's got strings attached that you're going to carry into your marriages. Romans 7:15 says, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, those things I do. Paul's talking about that struggle against the flesh in the moment. He's saying, even though I have all these habits, I'm also saved by Christ, and my spirit wants to be better. My spirit wants to have good character, but these things in my life, my flesh, I battle with my flesh every day. And even though I don't want to do these things, I find myself back in the same situations time and time and time again. If you identify with any of these things in your life, you're in luck. Because we serve a God who is a master of healing. A master of healing. We serve a God that's so big that it doesn't matter what your past hurt is. It doesn't matter what those wounds are in your life. God can help and God can fix them. You know, Psalms 147 says he's not going to leave us the way we are, the way he found us. He does not leave us the way he found us. I've got 3 things for you. If you identify with any of these things that we talked about, that maybe you have these strings attached to toxic environments and to trauma that is in your life. If you've got wounds, I've got 3 things for you, and then we're going to be done. I'll stop talking at you. The first thing is you got to reveal the hurt. You got to reveal the hurt. The road to healing starts with revealing. And so maybe in life, you got something that you're holding on to in your path that you need to reveal to yourself. And by the way, living with the pain is not the same as dealing with the pain. Some of y'all need to stop, and you have to reveal this, and you have to deal with the pain in your life. How do we do that? Well, the first thing is you got to reveal it to yourself. You've got to be able to look back and identify, like, man, you know what? That's a string that probably needs to get severed. That's a string to something in my past that I'm holding on to, and I can identify that it's holding me back, and I need to identify that and cut that string. And then you need to reveal it to God. And then I challenge you to tell one person. Reveal it to God, reveal it to yourself, reveal it to God, and reveal it to one person. Whether that be your spouse, or maybe it's a very close friend who, by the way, is another follower of Christ, who is an encouragement in your life, who is a light in your life. Not Sammy at work, who shows up hungover every day, but he's a good ear to talk to. That's not who I'm talking about. It's not going to count. You need to reveal that hurt to somebody who's going to hold you accountable in those things. Or maybe it's something that is such a deep wound that's so seated itself in your life that you need to talk to a counselor. Listen, counseling is a good thing, okay? Whenever you're walking down the street, if you see a house that's on fire, you're not going to wait for the whole house to burn down before you call me, before you call the fire department. You're not going to wait for your house to catch on fire and be like, man, I probably should have put some smoke detectors up. Counseling is like your smoke detector, right? Don't come to my house. I took all my smoke detectors down. But in these areas in our life, we've got to reveal the hurt. Okay? Counseling can be a good thing. The second thing is we have to release the people involved. And that's hard to do. We have to let go of those people. We have to forgive the people that are involved. Whether that might be your spouse, who maybe your spouse wounded you and it hurts and you're still bringing it up every argument, even though you said you forgave him, even though he's had repentance with God and he's been forgiven, you're still holding that string into your hurt in your past, and you need to release your spouse from that. Or maybe it's a mom or a dad who they hurt you in some major way. You need to release them from that. And I know it's going to be hard, and I know you're probably sitting there was like, you don't understand, Aaron. You don't know this person that's in my life. You don't know the wound that they did. You don't know what they did. And I can't do it, Aaron. You're right. You can't. Forgiveness is something that is supernatural. Forgiveness is not something that just comes naturally to us. It is supernatural that you have to have God's help with. And that's why you got to reveal the hurt in order to release the people involved. The last thing is you have to refocus on God's plan for my life. Once you've revealed the hurt and you've forgiven the people involved, you have to refocus your life on God's plan. God has a plan for your life, and it's good. You know, more often than not, God's not just going to deliver us from a situation. He's going to lead us through it. That's been true in my life. You know, I was at work on Friday night, and as I was on YouTube or Facebook, I don't even remember where I saw the video. You know, just like MythBusters, I was obsessed with the show. I've really enjoyed the show American Pickers. Who's seen American Pickers? So this clip is, you know, they're walking around this old man's house, and he's got sheds upon sheds of junk that's just stored up, that's just sitting there rusting away. And they're like, well, how about this broken tricycle over here? Wheels falling off, it's rusted. I'll give you $60 for that broken tricycle. You can trade it into me. You get something, I get something. He's like, well, I might use that. So okay, that's fine. What about this sign that's up here? It's rusted. I can't even read the words on it anymore. It's so rusted up and covered up. He goes, no, I better hold on to that. And then it cuts to a clip, and the guy's talking to the camera. He says, if I can just get him to sell me one thing, if I can just get him to let go of one thing, it will start an avalanche. And all of a sudden, he's going to start being able to let go of a whole lot more. My question to you today is, what in your life are you holding on to that you won't sell? That God's like, hey, you can just give that to me. You can just let that go. I can take it. What are you holding on to that if you were to let go would cause an avalanche of freedom in your life? Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who loves them, who have been called according to his purpose. You have a purpose in life. And guess what? God's purpose, it's good. It's a good thing. But if we are holding on to all of these strings from our past and they start pulling us tighter and tighter and tighter to the point that we can't even take one step forward. We cannot step into the person that God has called us to be. We cannot step into his purpose that he has called us into if we're holding on to the strings of our past. God says, let go. Let me heal you of these strings. And then guess what? You can get to step into the purpose that I've called you to. If we ever want our marriages to be successful, this is our first step. We have to stop putting our trust in our spouse. Sorry, that was worded wrong. We have to stop putting everything into our spouse, and we have to rely on God to complete us from the inside. We're going to spend the next 4 weeks talking about marriage, but before we can really get into some of the conflict resolution and some communication and stuff, we've got to all get back in the rhythm with the right relationship. And the right relationship to get back into rhythm with first is our relationship with God. If we come at communication, or we come at our spouse and we're still walking and holding on to the things of negativity, we're still dancing to the wrong sounds of depression, we're still walking around with the sounds of bitterness and resentment towards our partner, as we go into our next few weeks, they're going to be useless. Absolutely useless. Until we can get onto the right step or the right rhythm of relationship with our Heavenly Father, we're going nowhere. All we're doing is putting Band-Aids on bullet holes at that point. No matter what you've been through, God is big enough to heal it. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, like, there's just no way I can let go of this. There's no way I can move forward with this. I don't need Jesus. I can carry this. That was me. I can just ignore it. I can stay mad at it. I'm strong enough myself. I'm strong enough that this string, it's a rope, and guess what? I'm dragging this with me, and I'm grinding away. But over time, that's just going to wear you out and draw you further and further away from the person that God has called us to be. And if that is you, if you're staying mad and you're just that headstrong, red-minded person, just like I am, that bullheaded, stubborn person that is holding on to this, you just haven't had a revelation of who God is yet. Or you haven't had a revelation of who you really are yet. It takes both you and your spouse to get back into the right rhythm in order for our marriages to thrive. And that's what we're all striving for. That's what we're all looking forward to in this series is, man, I want a marriage that is thriving, that is blossoming with all of the fruits of the Spirit, instead of being in a situation where we feel like we're just keeping our head above water. All we're doing is surviving. We're just getting through one day after the next day after the next day with the same issues, the same strings attached to our past that we can't let go of. I want to invite you up here today to the altar. We got this nice brand new front of the stage, and it needs broken in for some broken people. If you have something in your life that you've identified, like, man, that's a string attached, and you just want to come up here and tell God, I let it go. I want to trade it in for some of that freedom that you're offering me. I want to trade it in for some of that life change that you're offering me, that attitude change, that outlook. God, my cup is empty, and I need it to be filled with the joy of your Spirit. If that's you this morning, This is your invitation. This is your sign. This is your invitation to come and lay it down in front of God before we can start talking about our spouse. Well, you don't know what she said to me, or you don't know what he said to me. We're not talking about them right now. We're talking about you. We'll worry about that another week. Right now, we're talking about you and your relationship with God. Maybe you've never been dancing to this rhythm. Maybe you're someone who has just kind of been sitting on the sidelines watching it from a distance and trying to figure all of this out on our own. And maybe you've never stepped into this rhythm of relationship with Jesus Christ. Maybe that's you this morning. And maybe you're trying to make that decision this morning of, man, that sounds a whole lot better than what I'm dealing with. I can just let those things go to God. If that's you this morning, altar's open. I want you to get back into the right rhythm of relationship. And the first one we got to start with is our relationship with God. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've given us, that you've blessed us with another day to sit in your presence, God. God, I thank you for sending your Son to give us mercy whenever we fall short. God, thank you. Thank you for always being there to catch us when we fall. Lord, I pray that if there are any strings attached in me, God, that have not been revealed to me yet, God, I ask that you would reveal those things to me so that I can be stripped of those. Lord, I pray that everyone in this room, God, that they can feel your Spirit moving, God, that they will be sensitive to the Holy Spirit, God, that they will not be held back by fear or whatever it may be, anxiety, fear, depression, whatever it is. God, I ask that you would give them the encouragement and that you would give them the strength and you would give them the boldness to become before your throne this morning. And then, God, may they may obtain mercy in their time of need. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.